I'm not as much of a fan of, say, quarantining data. You choose to use a BI tool to help you to make decisions.
Hi, I'm Bruno Aziza, and today I'm sitting down with Peter Thomas. Thank you very much for your time, Peter.
You're welcome.
So you are a known authority in information management business intelligence. You have a blog. You can see here the link to the blog. It's read by thousands of people on a monthly basis. What's interesting about your profile is you're not just a theorist, but you're also a practitioner. You've run successful BI programs at companies like Chubb. In fact, you got an award from the financial sector technology on best use of IT in insurance.
That's right.
So you've got a lot to share with our audience today.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with the first item that you often talk about, which is data quality and using business intelligence to improve quality.
Okay, well, thank you for inviting me in, first of all. I think sometimes as business intelligence practitioners, we're a bit frightened about data quality. We want our reports to be perfect, to have no issues with them. But that's not really realistic. That's not how things operate. And I think what's helpful often is to highlight it, to use your BI tool to illustrate where there are deficiencies in data. And when those things appear on senior managers' desks, then you've got a real opportunity to close the loop and get those issues sorted out. So I'm not as much of a fan of, say, quarantining data. By all means, tag it and say there's a problem, but show it as being an issue, and that's a good way to get it sorted out.
So often, many of the people watching here have issues with data not being complete and things like that, and we tend to kind of clean that up and then put that up to the side. But your suggestion is actually to expose those to senior management and so you can get cultural change or change management. What types of data are we talking about here? I think about competitors, often competitors' information, but is there others?
I think one of the classic ones is often customer data.
Okay.
And you mentioned my work in insurance. One of the types of customers in insurance are the actual insurance brokers. And that's an area where there's been a lot of consolidation, acquisitions, there have been aggregators. And so it's very regularly changing, the landscape. And if you want to have an accurate picture of what your relationship is with one of the large multinational brokers, then you have to focus quite closely on that area. So we used to highlight any brokers that weren't actually tagged into a group, and then we would close the loop. Whenever our cubes were published, we would have an action on the business to actually go and look at any that weren't actually properly set up, and then they would be refreshed the next time round, and we would move forward. And we did a really good job there, and we convinced our major partners that we really had a good handle on what the relationship was through doing that.
So it's really about identifying the piece of data that are critical to your business and then driving like mad to make sure that you've got a complete picture there, exposing this to senior management when you need it, and driving change between business and IT. You also talk a lot about measuring value of business intelligence. Many organizations struggle to even justify the need for investing more in business intelligence. What are some of the techniques that you're using?
Okay, I mean, you can sometimes be working in an area where you can directly manage the effectiveness. For example, if you're looking to increase cross-selling, then you can identify those opportunities using your BI tool.
Sure.
But you can also track the fact that you've actually had more cross-selling with the BI tool. So sometimes there's a closed loop there as well. But equally, a lot of the times it's less tangible benefits. And there you have to look instead at proxies. And good proxies for if you're on the right route are user adoption. How many people are actually using the tool? How often are they using the tool? What are they using it for? Because unlike, say, a transaction processing system, you choose to use a BI tool to help you to make decisions. So if people are actively choosing to use it, then you're doing the right types of things. And I think you can also look at things like, do you get requests for enhancement or to spread the BI tool out to different areas? If you get those, you know that you're engaged with your customers, you know you're doing the right things, and they want more of what you're doing.
So this is a great best practice, because what it says is not just focus on the things you can measure or maybe measuring the end result, but also thinking about the entire process and the factors that are correlated that will affect performance.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think you want to have a range of proxies, because just one isn't going to work. You want to look at retention of users, frequency of usage. You can do surveying as well. You can bring all these things together, but often your BI tool can help to measure these things as well.
That's great. Now, other areas where you've done a lot of work in is the value proposition around business intelligence and knowing the value of your decisions. Often it's not really easy to say that it was a good decision or a bad decision, and tying that to a business intelligence investment. What do you do and you teach your clients?
That's an interesting area and a good experience that we had in this area. Justified a major investment in data warehousing and in business intelligence by looking at this area. The challenge is always, if business intelligence is about taking better decisions, well, how do you know how that's going? What we did was we took a segment of 5 years of historical data, and we said, let's pretend we don't know about the most recent 2, and look at the 3 before that. Based on that data, can we make predictions about good business, bad business? And then we've got the luxury of raising our hand and saying, well, did we get it right or not? And on the basis of that, we were getting the decision right, in the sort of high 90s. And that can make a big difference in terms of profitability. So going and looking at history and using it as a basis of, well, if we had better information, would we have taken a different decision? That can be quite a powerful way to justify a project.
This is a very interesting practice. It's almost like a post-mortem on your data. Often we don't think about going back, taking a look at the data and see how we would have acted differently if we'd had the full picture. So this is an interesting way to assess the quality of your decisions. Now, we've talked a lot about best practices for data warehousing and business intelligence, but you're also a firm believer in culture change and how business intelligence helps you change culture. Do you want to tell us what your take is on that?
Yeah, sure. And I think this also goes to the issue that business intelligence is there to help you take better decisions, which is behavioural change. So you've got to realise that you're actually in the game of getting people to do things slightly differently. I think the important things in this area are, first of all, realise that you're in that business. Because if you don't realise that, if you think you're just building technology, you get into one of these maybe slightly sad arrangements where we built all this stuff and the users don't like it. Well, you need to get the users engaged first up. And you need to use them, the people who help you to define the system, as actually being your zealots or your missionary to sort of spread the word. That's one thing that's in there. But then you've also got to realise that you essentially have a product that you want to market. And it is as if you're trying to launch a product. Do some of the same techniques. Try and sell what you're doing. You then get into an education phase, and you have to focus on good quality education. Very important. But I think the thing that sometimes people forget about is then the follow-up. You don't declare victory saying, well, we did some great training. You need to make sure that you provide master classes for early adopters, refresher courses for people who maybe need a little bit more help. And whenever you roll out new functionality, use that as an opportunity to consolidate and continue to be engaged with your users. I think that gives you a chance of actually changing things.
Peter, this one is very interesting because I think as many of the folks in IT are thinking about the rational approach to business intelligence, here what you're telling us is think about it as a marketing exercise. It's a product you're selling, there's an audience you're selling it to, and you've got to take care of the needs of that audience. Absolutely,
and I'm sure as IT practitioners we're often proud of our work. Well, it's about going and sharing what the benefits are with other people as well.
Thank you very much for your time, Peter.
Thank you.
Until next time, I'm Bruno Aziza.